everybody, welcome back to the show. This is the Mental Breakdown. I'm your host, Joey Velez. Have you ever made a mistake in a game or in a performance and just felt like you couldn't get out of your own way? Maybe you are a golfer who hits one bad shot and immediately thinks that, I can't believe I did that. I'm just terrible today. Or maybe you're a basketball player who misses an important shot and starts thinking, oh man, here we go again, you know? Or maybe you're someone who makes a mistake during practice, during training, and spends the rest of the day thinking about what you should have done differently. If you've experienced that, then you're definitely not alone. One of the most common mental challenges that athletes face is negative thinking. And the goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts completely because that's actually unrealistic. Instead, one of the most useful skills you can develop is learning how to reframe your negative thinking. So what does reframing actually mean? So reframing is essentially taking an unhelpful thought and looking at the situation from a more productive point of view. And there's an important distinction here. Reframing isn't about pretending that everything is positive. It's not saying, I really didn't miss that shot, or hey, everything is actually all good. But what it's really about is asking yourself, is there a more useful way of interpreting what just happened? Because the event itself isn't always what determines how you respond. It's oftentimes the meaning you attach to that event. So if you look at an example, imagine a baseball player strikes out. One athlete might think that I'm terrible, I can't hit today. Another athlete might think that, hey, that was a bad at bat. Let's figure out what can I adjust for the next at bat. Same event, completely different interpretations, and that interpretation can now influence your confidence, the emotions you experience, where your attention goes, and ultimately your ability to perform. Now, the reason this matters so much in sport is that negative thoughts can pull your attention away from the present moment. So think about an athlete who makes a mistake and then spends the next several minutes thinking about it. They're physically still in the game, but mentally they're somewhere else. They're thinking, why did I do that? What if I mess up again? My coach probably hates me. I can't afford to make another mistake. The problem is that none of those thoughts help you execute whatever the next play is. And when it comes to sports, the next play is usually the only one that you can control, right? So that's where reframing becomes a valuable tool. So a simple way to practice reframing is to use 3 steps. So notice, name, and reframe. Right? With the first step is you notice the thought. Pay attention to what you're telling yourself instead of automatically accepting the thought as truth. Be able to recognize it. I'm thinking that I'm going to mess this up. Second step is name what isn't helpful about that thought, right? So asking yourself, is this thought helping me perform right now? If the answer is no, you don't necessarily have to argue with it. You just recognize that it's not useful, right? And lastly is reframing. So replace the thought with something that is more realistic and more actionable. So instead of saying something like, I'm going to screw this up, you might say, hey, focus on the next step. Instead of saying something like, I can't believe I missed that shot, say, hey, it's over, reset, and move on. Right? So notice that these aren't necessarily overly positive statements, right? They're more functional in nature. They're designed to put your attention where it needs to be, and that's the important point. So it's less about needing to think more positively, because that's not what reframing really is. If you're struggling and you're telling yourself, I'm the best athlete in the world, that might not actually help you. Like your brain may immediately respond to, yeah, well, that's obviously not true. So instead, you got to try something that you actually believe in, right? So I've trained for this. I know what to do. Focus on what you can control, things like that, because those statements are believable to the brain, and more importantly, they're useful in the moment. So putting it all together, imagine that you are a golfer standing over a 3-foot putt and you miss it. Your immediate thought is that I'm terrible at putting. So if we go to the reframing 3 steps, the first step is noticing it, so you recognize it. I'm having a negative thought right now, but then you name it. Right? This thought isn't going to help me hit my next shot. And then lastly, you reframe it. So maybe that reframe goes to, hey, that putt is over, reset, and commit to the next shot. That's reframing. You're not denying that you missed. You're not pretending you're happy about it. You're simply refusing to let that one mistake dictate what your next move is. So the next time you catch yourself having a negative thought during competition, practice, whatever it is, don't immediately try to force it to go away. Instead, take a pause, right? Notice it, name it, reframe it, and ask yourself, what can I tell myself right now that will actually help me perform? Because the goal isn't to become an athlete who never has negative thoughts. The goal is to become that athlete who doesn't allow those negative thoughts to control what happens next. You can't always control the thought that pops into your head, but with practice, you can get much better at deciding what to do about those thoughts. And sometimes that mental shift from I can't do this to what's my next move can make a pretty big difference in your performance. So remember, you don't have to control every thought. You just have to learn how to respond to them. And that's what I have for you all today. Okay, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, rate, review, share the podcast. I'll talk to y'all soon. Don't forget, today's a great day to make an impact on someone's life. All right, y'all. Have a good one.